Welcome back to Just the Tip Tuesday, Game Tech's weekly short form podcast. This week we're hitting it up right. Ungulate season, elk season, deer season, killing season is right around the frickin' corner. The proverbial corner. I mean, it's more like a soft corner, but it's right around the corner.
It's kind of what's next, right? Bear season's wrapping up.
Bear season's done. It's time to start thinking about. And this week, we are going to talk about getting your 10-year-old, your 12-year-old, your 15-year-old, your kid ready for their first hunt, what to expect, what we've experienced, and what they can expect on their first hunt, what you're going to do as a mom or a dad to help have their first hunt be a success. So I'm Mike Edgehouse, Ryan Smith on the other side of the line here. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great.
Good.
This great topic. My kids aren't quite old enough to hunt, but I'm taking them, and so you're just wanting to build those positive experiences so they want to keep going. I mean, and that's what I'm trying to do with my 8-year-old and my 6-year-old when I take them out. Just, nothing negative. We want everything positive with hunting. Definitely if we want them to keep wanting to go with us, right?
Yep, I agree. It needs to be positive. It needs to be fun. If I were to come up with a list of rules for taking your kids hunting, and our good friend up in Canada with the Focus Hunting podcast, Kevin Toy, who we had on last year, he's pretty versed at this as well because he gets his kids out hunting. When you take your kids hunting, it's not about you hunting. You need to curb you hunting. You are hunting for them. You are guiding them. So your desire to chase that bull, your desire to shoot that cow, your desire to do this, that, or the other needs to be put aside and focus on them. If they're not comfortable, if an ant's crawling on their arm and that means they can't shoot, you can't be pissed at that, right? Like if they want to stop and look at the frog or the toad rather that's jumping across the trail instead of chasing that thing, relish in that toad jumping across the trail, man, right? The animals will come, but that would be my number one rule. And I'll just say for fathers, even though I know many mothers take them out hunting, put your hunt aside. When I take my kids hunting, I don't even take a gun or a bow. I just take them. And then the second thing I do is, because not every hunt needs to be successful, right? Success is not part of the hunt. The hunt is the hunt. Being out there, camping, telling stories, doing whatever. I do not like taking kids backcountry hunting when they're 10 years old. I don't think they're prepared for that, both mentally. A lot of physical challenges, but a lot are prepared physically. But there's a level of fun instead of being on the mountain for 4 straight days to having a base camp, and they can come back and you can pitch them pine cones and they have a stick and they hit it, and, having a campfire where you cook s'mores and roast wieners and stuff like that. But I would say the second thing that I do when I take my kids hunting, and I've experienced this even with my 15-year-old who will probably venture off on a different trail than me this year's hunt, but I scout. Like, I don't really scout for myself. Like, I know where I'm hunting, and if it takes me 4 days to get into where the animals are, like, I'll do that. Like, I don't really worry about it too much. I'm not much of a scouter, in terms of getting boots on the ground. But when my kids, I will go out 2 weeks ahead of time. I will go out a week ahead of time. I will even go out 3 days ahead of time to see if there's a pattern to the animals, where the animals like to be. That way I can position my kids. I can get my kids stoked by showing them pictures, by saying like, hey, I found a bunch of elk pee here. It looked like it was from, early morning. Like, we should try to get here, and get them excited for the hunt. I scout because, in my opinion, the easiest way to get a kid hooked on hunting is let them kill their first animal, be involved in the process, and then eat it and tell the story every time they eat it. So while hunting isn't always about the kill, boy, it sure makes a hard hunt easier to swallow for a 10-year-old if they were able to knock an animal down. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Well, and I really like the toad analogy that you used. Because I think the big thing is we're thinking about the kill, we're thinking about the animal, we're thinking like, this is why we're here. This is our purpose, and we just have to enjoy the memories. Like we're making memories in the field with our kids, and it's not about the kill. I do think the kill helps, and I mean, are there for a purpose and making that purpose, but for them to enjoy it, it's the memories with you as the dad or the mom, and just like them telling the story of the kill, they go home, tell their mom about the frog that they saw or the toad, that went
they
across.
tell that story more than the freaking animal, dude. I have
I
my 15-year-old, when he was 11, took him for a hunt. He was successful on an elk. He has been every year, and I remember we sat, at 2:00 waiting for the 5:00 hour in an area we knew elk would come in the evening. And we almost missed the evening hunt because he got so enthralled, and probably a little much here for a 12-year-old, but there were 2 grasshoppers that were doing it doggy style or grasshopper style that jumped on his leg, and then the male mounted it. Like, I don't know how grasshoppers reproduce, but they were doing it, man. They were doing, like, as far as I know what it looks like, they were doing it. This kid took my phone. I probably have like 47 minutes of grasshopper fornication video on my phone.
Somebody will pay good money for that.
Trust me, I'm thinking about jumping on OnlyFans for grasshopper, P word. And it literally, like, but it happened right at like the magic hour. And I'm like, dude, there's animals. He's like giggling and laughing. He's like, look at these. Look at them. They're still going. They're still going. Right? And like videoing. And I was like, that's when it clicked to me, like, it doesn't matter. Like, the animals may be there tomorrow. Like, he ended up, being like, okay, now let's go get one. And it was fine. But like, the kill wasn't the most important part. It was those freaking grasshoppers. Like, and to this day, if you bring it up to him, at 15, very mature 15, he'll just get this sly smile on his face and start laughing. And he'll be like, yeah, I remember that. Those grasshoppers are going at it. And like, doesn't remember the elk, doesn't remember anything about it, but remembers those grasshoppers going at it, man. So the other thing I would say, and we use this term a lot, Captain Crunch, like when we're going in on bears, we talked about that. You have to teach your kids how to walk in the woods when they're hunting. Right? They don't think grass makes sounds. They don't think like, leaves make sounds. They don't think that certain things make sounds. Walking heavy on gravel is too noisy if there's, animals ahead that you're going in on. You have to teach them how to walk lightly. So don't overlook that. Right? So I like to, when we're going in for a kill, or for an area where animals are, I like to be behind my kid. I'm the dad that makes the kid carry the gun. 1, he's shooting, and 2, he's hunting. Like, I probably won't make Griff because, Griff's a little guy. He's like 4'7". I'll probably carry the gun in for him. But like my other kid's big, like he carried the gun, but I walked behind him and I had to stop him. At least, and this is no joke, on his first deer hunt, I had to stop him at least 8 times walking down this road that had gravel on it to these deer that were feeding. I'm like, what? And finally, I was like, what don't you understand? And he's like, I'm not making any noise because you can't hear it when you're right above it. I heard it behind him. Like, you are actually making so much noise. So I stopped before we got into view of the deer, and I showed him, like, heel very softly, roll your foot. Don't slap your foot down. Roll it. Try not to get those rocks to move. And I walked, and I had him follow me. I was like, this is how you're walking. And I just walked normal. And I said, now this is how I would walk into this. And I was like, did you hear the difference? And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. Now I hear the difference. Right. So there's so many teaching moments, and you can go, we could wax philosophical about all the other stuff. But like, if you're teaching your kids how to hunt, like certain things, you have to put aside the frustration and anger. Now, are you going to get frustrated? You're going to get frustrated as hell taking your kid hunting. Like, it's just going to happen. Right. But you can curb the anger. Be better than to be angry.
Well, and that's just it. You need take a breath. I remember one bear hunt. We had a bear on the bait, and we have to, I mean, you've talked about it. You have to go up this mountain like crazy, and you're racing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had one of my kids with me, and I mean, I think she was 5
Mm-hmm.
at the time. And, the whole way up the mountain, I knew there was a bear there,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to shoot a bear with her. And the whole time up the mountain, we went at her pace,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't even say like, we got to get up there. We got to get up
Right.
there. It was very much like you lead, and about every 20 steps she would stop and go, "Are you tired, Dad?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm tired." "Okay, me too. I'm tired too, and
I love it.
because I knew she was tired,
Yep.
even though the 20 steps didn't bother me at all. It was like,
Correct.
"Oh, I'm tired too. It's okay to take a rest here, like."
100%. Let
And
them dictate how the day goes. And the thing I've experienced too on hunts, kids won't eat until they are famished, until they get hangry, right? They'll start snapping at you. They'll like do silly stuff. You're like, what the hell is going on? Like, you may not be hungry. Kids on hunts, like, need to eat, in my opinion, on like a when
Mhm.
they're not just sitting, like every 10-15 minutes. And it's like, I remember, and I'll do it this year with Griff, I would take a box of vanilla wafers. I would take multiple bags of gummy bears and fruit snacks, and not granola healthy bars. Nobody wants to eat that crap. Take your kids Snickers and Twix and Kit Kats and stuff that they will eat. Oh, but that's a sugar high. They're going to crash. Yeah, give them another one. When it starts to crash, throw another Kit Kat at them. Like, give them stuff they're going to want to eat to keep calories in their belly and keep them going.
Well, well, and
That's so important
that's just it. Like, why do kids love going to the movies?
because
They
they
get
get a bunch of junk
popcorn
food.
and they get the things that they love. Like, why do they love going to the stock car races? Because you get a scone and you get this.
Well, here's one for you. So
And so,
we did that bear hunt with Griff, and I had a box of vanilla wafers. Luke came home from Canada a couple weeks later, or a week and a half later, and he looked in the pantry, and that box of vanilla wafers were there, and he saw it, and he looked at me, and it's 15 years, right? And he started
mhm,
bird hunting with me when he was like 7. So, and that was his thing. He would carry a box of vanilla wafers when we would go, pheasant hunting or quail or hunt
right.
hunting. And he would just eat vanilla, and he looked back. I was not expecting this. He looked back and gave me this huge smile and looked at that box of vanilla wafers, and he said, "That brings back the memories, Dad." And dude, like, he very seldom says like things like that to me, but like, I damn near melted, like, because it made, all of a sudden, all those memories came rushing back. Like, that's what we have to remember, dude. It's the stuff that we would never think is a memory, that the kid sees a box of vanilla wafers in the thing, and it immediately, he remembered bird hunting and elk hunting, all the trips with vanilla wafers. Like,
Well,
it's not about us, it's
no,
about them.
and I think we can all think of experiences when we were kids hunting with hunting
Oh,
with our parents. Every time I eat a smushed peanut butter and jelly sandwich, all I can think about is digging it out of my dad's pack,
yep,
like. And
yep.
so we all have those things, and we just need to. That's what we need to focus on, is those same memories that we loved when we grew up hunting. And the one thing that I'd like to add is, know your kid.
Yeah.
Like, know what they can handle, know
Yes.
what they like, and pick hunts accordingly. You
Yep.
know, I know right now in my stage of life, my kids can't go on an archery elk hunt with me. I mean,
No.
it's just not happening. No matter how much I want to try, I am not giving up my archery elk hunt to take
Mm-hmm.
my 10-year-old. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but no offense to turkey hunters, like, we have a turkey hunting app called the Turkey Tech app. We love turkeys, but
Not all of us love turkeys.
but but we're terrible because in
It's a
Idaho
great
we
kid
don't hunt.
hunt.
It's a great kid hunt.
It's a
It
great
is
kid hunt.
great. You're in
Yeah.
fields, you're in river bottoms, you're sitting, you're calling, you can throw it
Mm-hmm.
over your shoulder. I do coyote hunts with where we go sit and we get the sounds going, and I let my kids hit the buttons on the
Yep.
collar. We do these bear hunts, even I'll take them deer hunting with me, but it's not me deer hunting. It's like, let's hop on the four-wheeler, take a picnic, and see if we can go find a deer, you know? And so know your kids and pick the hunts accordingly. Just because they're 12 and they can go on an archery elk hunt
doesn't mean they should.
Doesn't mean they should, and doesn't mean we should push them to do it just because elk's our favorite thing to hunt. And we've been dreaming of this.
For kids, I think you need to be close enough to the car to get back to the car when shit falls apart, because it will fall apart. Inevitably, it's going to fall apart. I don't think, like, for me, and both my kids, I explained to Griffin on our walk yesterday around the neighborhood what a killer was. And he's like, oh, I'm a killer now because I kill animals. I'm like, no, dude, you've always been a killer because you set your goals on something and you work your butt off to achieve those goals. And that's what a killer is. Like, you put it in your sights and you go after it. But in the literal sense of the term, yeah, you're a killer now too. I think stuff falls apart. And I think it's important to be close enough to either a base camp or a car or some level of a sanctuary that you can get back. Right, you take the four-wheeler and don't go more than an hour or so from that four-wheeler, because you got to get back, like, because stuff will fall apart, right? Like, it inevitably, whatever it is, like a bald-faced hornet stings them. They're depending upon your kid, their day could be done.
Right.
And you can't be mad about that, right? As the parent, like, it is like, God, those really suck. You could try to rub dirt in it, convince them, but those freaking things hurt, man. And if they get stung in a bad spot, like, they're done. Right. Or, you know, you run out of food, or they just, in their head, their 10-year-old head, they decide, like, I'm done for the day. I don't want to do this anymore. It would suck to have to do a 3-hour hike out of there. Right. Because going in's easy. It's coming out that's hard. So I kind of have a rule that, you know, it's a 3-mile rule. Like, we're not going to go farther than 3 miles from the car. And if anything, I try to do a 1.5 miles out, then some straightaways down in a canyon and then back up. So it's really 1.5 miles from the car, because
that makes sense.
You just have to prepare for the worst, and then always have a medical bag. I mean, that some of those things we'll talk about later, but prepping the kids, you just have to put everything of your desires and everything aside, have planned appropriately for our best shot at an animal in a decent area, close enough to get it out, is here. And go to that spot, and hopefully you've put in the work to find the animals there. But if you don't, then find something else. You know what's really fun? If there's no animals in the area, and I'm sorry, other hunters, like, it happens, there's some rocks about 200 yards away. Let's fire like 4 rounds and see if we can hit that rock at 200 yards away. Like, there's no animals. It's 10 a.m. Nothing came out. Nothing came in. They're somewhere else. Let's blow that rock up. That's pretty fun. Right? I mean, that's there. Well, all of a sudden, that shitty hunt just turned into a memorable experience, because your kid, you could be like, oh, you got it prone. Now try to do it kneeling. Oh, good. You did it kneeling. Now let's see that one at 100. See if you can do it off your shoulder. Right? Like, just make it fun. Like, and I know some hunters be like, no, that's bullshit. You shouldn't do that. Like, it's going to scare. Buddy, I'm with a 10-year-old. Like, this is more important, like, getting this kid to be one of us in the future and partake in hunting and conservation efforts, etc. Like, and if it means doing that, that's what we're doing. But I would also say, if you were one out there that you're put in your 10-year-old for a prized elk rifle hunt, and there were only 10 tags for that unit and they drew it, you probably don't want to do that in one of those units, right? Like, that's just my opinion. Like, you want to, like, if they get out there and they're bored, it's one of those things, like, you know, maybe you should have made a different choice, Dad. Hey guys, just want to take a second and interrupt the Just the Tip Tuesday podcast to introduce and talk about one of our fantastic new partners, Grizzly. Grizzly's been making coolers for years. They are top-notch hunting, boating, recreation coolers. In addition to coolers, they make drinkware, camp cups, water bottles anywhere from 1 gallon down to 30 ounces. They're insulated. They keep it cold. We personally use Grizzly coolers, the 75, the 100, the 165. If you're into cold tubbing, they even have a big 400 and 450. And one of the coolest things with Grizzly coolers, they have a meat shelf. I've been talking about this for years. There needs to be some sort of platform that keeps the ice down in the bottom of the cooler and the meat up on top of that ice. That way you can travel a long way and know that your meat is safe. If you go to the Grizzly website right now and use the code GOTGAME, that's GOTGAME, all capitalized, it'll get you 15% off of your order. Anything on their website: hunting equipment, ground blinds, troughs, coolers, meat shelves, drinkware, you name it. Use the code GOTGAME and support one of our awesome partners.
Yeah, well, and that's just what I'm saying. Know your kid and pick the hunt accordingly. Pick the tags, pick that extra doe tag that's in the fields around the house.
100%.
Those white tail extra doe tags and so just know your kid, make it fun.
Hey, here's one for you. Here's a little tidbit as we wrap this one up. Very few landowners are willing to give adults permission to hunt on their land if there's good animals, right?
That's
let's be honest. I've knocked on a ton of doors of ranchers, of farmers, everything, and they're like, nah, sorry, family, whatever. But I've had my son, and I'm in the background, go up and knock on the door and speak for himself to those ranchers and farmers. And they, more times than not, are more than happy to give a child permission to harvest an animal or kill an animal
that is 100%
on their land.
True.
So if you want to hedge your bets, if you're driving to work or driving around and you always see elk or deer in this field and you're like, oh, it's private land, take your kid that has a tag and go with them, but let him or her speak. Let him or her stand on her own 2 feet, knock on that door. Don't speak for them. Let them shake hands. Let them look the landowner in the eye and ask permission. And it is more times than not, they'll be like, yes, you absolutely can. Now, Dad, Mom, you're with them on that hunt, but that's their hunt. You don't have permission. You can't shoot, but your kid. And that is a great way to kind of hedge the bets and get them really addicted to the hunting realm.
Well, and it just teaches them good things. Making your kids call to make their own doctor's appointment for a sports physical, that's good for your kids.
I mean, teaching your kids to knock on a door of a stranger, shake their hand, and ask for permission politely and eloquently. Like, if you can get your 10-year-old doing that, by the time they're 15, they're going to be speaking to any adult in the room on their own, and I can tell you that from experience.
Yep. Nope. And that's what's important is, we're teaching our kids in these moments. So
absolutely.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, this was a good one. It's something I'm super passionate about. We have a bunch of footage of a hunt that Luke was on that we filmed when he was like 12 years old 3 years ago that I'm going to eventually get my hands on and put something together, because that's the other thing. If you have a phone, video as much as you possibly can, because you won't remember 90% of the stuff. They're going to remember a lot more than you do, but man, video everything. Like, literally video everything, because there's such funny stuff that happens.
Oh, yeah.
And then you could even reevaluate yourself. You can look at it and be like, oh, was a bit of a dick there. Probably shouldn't have done that. But like, they say funny stuff. They do funny things. The looks on their faces. Like, I mean, I don't have a GoPro. We don't use GoPros in our business. But like, if you have a GoPro, turn it on with the biggest memory card you can and just leave the damn thing run all day.
Right.
Because the stuff that happens is hilarious.
Well, and it's memorable. So
it's so memorable. So thanks, brother. I appreciate being able to spout on that a little bit.
No, it's fun. I'm excited as my kids, keep getting older, to put some of these things we've talked to practice, a little bit more.
Yeah. So it's getting close. September's what? It's about 3 months away. So
yeah, I can't wait.
Depending upon when you decide to hunt, some hunts open in August. That's 2 months away.
Yep. Can't wait.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Whether you're deep in the backcountry, field dressing your game, learning to butcher to perfection, or cooking up the meal that honors the hunt, Cut Right is your ultimate guide. Cut-Right puts expert knowledge at your fingertips. Master field dressing right on the mountain, learn step-by-step butchering techniques, and discover incredible ways to prepare your harvest. It's not just about the hunt, it's about the whole journey. Download the Cut-Right mobile app where apps are downloaded today and elevate your wild game experience.